Hey, Laura J. and Geordie Lishman back again to do the next piece in the Intro to German New Medicine, this time talking about the old and new brain concept. So, Geordie, what is the old brain?
Yes, so we have an old and a new brain. The old brain is like the very fundamentals for what we needed to survive and to be alive, to be life forms. So it's said that we were some kind of like ringworm jellyfish type thing long ago. And back then, all we had was a digestive system and the ability to reproduce. So the digestive system and the ability to reproduce are part of the old brain, especially the digestive system. It's the fundamental old brain. The new brain is partly the ability to reproduce on different levels. It's more like competitiveness, as well as, we develop more and more living entities in the waters that we existed in, we needed to start to protect ourselves. So the new brain really is kind of competition in mating and reproduction and protection from all kinds of different problems. So, but the old brain, which was basically what we needed to be life forms, is essentially being able to extract energy from our environment by consumption and to be able to reproduce. So, if you look at it, the old brain is at the very bottom of our brains, at the very back here, called the pons of the brainstem, and the relays go from your mouth to your bumhole. It goes all the way around in a circle, and it's kind of what people would call the lizard brain. And it's like a snake that's consuming itself in the pons of the brainstem, the relays for these things. And essentially, for life, we need to consume and we need to reproduce. So that's why it's called the old brain, and it's the oldest part of our development. And during its conflict activity, when there's a problem, it goes into accelerated mitosis. So it's trying to do the jobs better. So if left for too long, though, that accelerated mitosis is unchecked growth, which is cancer. Then when it goes into resolution phase, it activates bacteria, microbes, and fungus to dissolve those extra cells during the excited time, and then it turns it into a mucus, which then is flushed during the epileptoid crisis when it squeezes. Now, the new brain is very different because when it goes into a stress phase, it actually disintegrates. So it starts to break down the tissue to allow passageways to be bigger, because a lot of the passageways in our body is covered by this new brain tissue, which is our skin. So our lining of our vascular system and our mouth and all these kinds of things are all part of it. So a good example for this kind of understanding is the breast cancer, because there's two kinds of breast cancer. There's mastitis or globular, and then there's ductal. And they're very different. One is old brain, one is new brain. The actual breast glands themselves that produce the milk are part of the old brain. They're part of the old necessary reproductive system and is part of feeding your young. So if you have a trauma, which is I don't have enough nourishment for my family, your breast gland may go into hyperactivity to try to create more mass to be able to produce the extra milk needed. If that's left for too long, it will go lumpy and they'll call this breast cancer, and then you'll have to go through that process, which is another whole issue. But if it's ductal, that means that you have the nutrients to give to your family, you just don't have the ability to get it to them. Sometimes this happens to people who are, their child is hurt and in the hospital and they can't go see them or something like this. Or maybe they just work too much and they can't get to their family enough. Mm-hmm. So then what happens is the body thinks that the milk's not getting to the baby or to the family to nourish it, and so it needs to widen the milk ducts. So during the traumatic times, it dissolves the milk ducts to make it a bigger passageway. And then when you resolve it, cysts will form over those places to seal it up. And that's what they think is the cancer. So it's basically during the resolution time, when everything's kind of over, they sense that there's a cancer and they go through another whole process to try to save you from that.
So in the current medical system that is all about cutting out that which is seen to be diseased, how does that tie in we're at the 5-minute mark and we want to keep this one short and sweet. So we're going to talk about that in the next piece of this, because I do believe this is so relevant to the times that we're living in, with the culture that we've been
and it's a
pushed
complicated
into.
situation, and everybody has different kind of issues, but cutting out the tumor can be sometimes a benefit, sometimes it does nothing. And often breast cancer is followed by spinal cancer of the upper thoracic region, which has to do with feeling as though there's something wrong with your upper torso. And that's really what they kind of say it is. So it's overactive activity in your upper thoracic region because you feel like there's something wrong there. So sometimes getting a mastitis can help you feel like it's better and avoid some of that. But it's like everybody's individual journey. And the saying in German medicine is, you don't do nothing, you do the right thing. Sometimes that is doing nothing. Well, it's often it's never doing nothing. But sometimes you can address the issues psychologically and work through it. Sometimes you can't. So whatever the right thing is to do is what we should do. And that's always an individual kind of process to find out.
I relate cancer to free radicals, and then I relate this also to emotions, and the fact that if we think of our emotions as radicals within our energetic system that need to go somewhere lest they be freely destroying because they're untamed and untrained and just moving through the system.
I'm not sure about free radicals. I mean, that's a form of radiation poisoning which can cause cancer. But generally, our own psyche is controlling the show when it comes to all this stuff. I mean, if there's obvious damage, the psyche recognizes this on some subconscious level and does whatever it needs to do. Like if you get hit by too much cancer, there's damage there and it needs to get healed, and that's what they consider cancer. Radiation can spark cancer, but it's very rare, and it's also like an unknown kind of thing in the German medicine is like how much is physical stress and how much is mental stress when it comes to a sickness. So like when I look at something like lung cancer, which is an interesting one, they couldn't induce lung cancer into golden gerbils because they didn't have the program. Golden gerbils live in a boreal setting where there's no forest fires, field fires, or anything like that. So when they blow smoke on them, nothing really happens. They just get addicted to tobacco and they get excited about the smoke, but they never develop lung cancer. However, field mice, when you blow smoke on them, they freak out and run for the doors and shake on the windows and shake on the doors, try to get out of there. If you leave them in that state for too long, they develop lung cancer because they have a fear. So, is it the tobacco smoke or is it the psychological trigger that the tobacco smoke puts out? These are all kind of questions. Then there's like, what if you got hit by some radiation and some tobacco smoke and then some psychological worry? There's a whole concoction that can lead to different things.
So there is a lot more, as you can tell, to all of this, and we're going to get into it deeper in subsequent messages. So please do leave a message below to let us know what this message means to you, what it means for you, what you're going to do with this information, what questions it triggers within you. If it does arise any uncertainty for you, what is that and where do you feel that within your vessel? Because this is the energetic den that is transporting our soul through this life as us in. So if we can learn how to work with the energies in motion within us, then we're going to be able to help our psyche, I believe, to better negotiate the free radicals placement within us. So we're coming at it from two different perspectives, but ultimately I do believe that we are all talking about similar things using different words and putting those concepts into then different boxes that we think are different. But if we actually break it down to the foundation, we see that when you drop those walls of the words, we see the foundation is what keeps us feeling safe in order to then bridge off and branch off into other people's territories of the words they've chose, to then see that those walls can become the bridges that actually bring us together, which I'm grateful to be able to have your perspective shared today and look forward to your comments. So have a great day. Laura J.
Be kind.
Geordie Lishman.